Hello everyone. Today we are going to deal with When Salihan Took on the Raj, written by Palguni Sainath. The author Palguni Sainath is an Indian journalist who reports on rural India, and he is actually the grandson of Indian politician and former president of India, that is V.V. Giri. And the famous economist Amartya Sen called him one of the world's greatest experts on famine and hunger. So Sainath, he started his career in the United States in 1980, and he also worked for the famous Blitz Weekly. Then he was a professor of writing at the University of Princeton. Then he has received several awards and he rejected some of the government awards, including the Padma Bhushan. And his exhibition, Visible Work, Invisible Women, Women and Work in Rural India, is very famous. And his book, Everybody Loves a Good Drought, uh, it is now in its 43rd print and is declared as a classic. And the book has been published in multiple editions and in 10 languages and is considered the conscience of the Indian nation. Then he founded the People's Archive of Rural India called PARI in 2015. So it is basically an archive of living journals of history of rural India. So the particular chapter that we are going to deal with, When Salihan Took on the Raj, is an article published in the website People's Archive of Rural India, also known as PARI. And what is it about? The story is about Demati De Sabar, an Adivasi of the Sabar tribe of Odisha, who along with other Adivasi women took on the armed British police who had cracked down on their village Salihan in the year 1930. So it is the story of Demati De Sabar, and today she is known after her village, that is Salihan. The name of the village is Salihan. So let's see the text. So if I ask you to mention the name of a few freedom fighters, you will have a set of names, right? You may say Gandhiji, Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, Balaganga Tilak. And if I ask you to mention the names of some female freedom fighters, you will be saying Sarojini Naidu, Vijayalakshmi Pandit. Again, you will have a set of names. But here you have to study about a woman, a female freedom fighter, whose name is Demati Desaba, but we don't know about this woman. She is an unknown figure in history, or her history is unwritten. And in this article, P. Sainath is paying tribute to that particular woman, and she is a tribal woman called Demati Desabar from Odisha. So in this particular text, we have an incident during British administration in which we have the description of a tribal woman's heroism. Okay, so let's look at the text. She was working in the fields along with the other Adivasi women when a youngster from their village, Saliha, came racing to them yelling, "They are attacking the village, they have assaulted your father, they are torching our homes." So what is it? In the beginning, we can see that Demati, along with other women, other Adivasi women, is working in the fields, and all of a sudden a youngster from their village, Saliha is the name of the village. So a youngster is coming from their village, and what is he saying? He is saying that their village is being attacked by some people, and also the father of Demati Desabar is also attacked by these people, and they are actually burning down their homes. So who are these people? Huh? Who are these people the youngster is talking about? That is Britishers. Huh? So the Britishers are attacking a tribal village in Odisha. That is the background. Now, there were armed British police who had cracked down on a village seen as defiant of the Raj. Many other villages were razed, burned down, their grain looted, the rebels were being shown their place. So what is it? The Britishers are attacking this particular village because that village is against British administration. They are rebelling against British administration. So Britishers are attacking this particular village. And several other villages have also undergone a similar fate because they protested against the British administration. Now, Demate De Sabar, an Adivasi of the Sabar tribe, raced back to Salihan with 40 other young women. Now we have in quotes Demate's words. My father was lying on the ground bleeding, says the aged freedom fighter. He had a bullet in his leg. So what is it? So hearing the news of British attack, Demate De Sabar is going back to her village. She's actually running back to her village along with 40 other women. And as I told you, she is an Adivasi woman belonging to the Sabar tribe of Odisha. And actually, in this particular chapter, the writer is going to meet Demati Desaba, an old, now that she is very old, and he is going to meet this old woman, and he is actually talking to this woman, and she is replying, my father was lying on the, she is recollecting the incident and she is replying, my father was lying on the ground bleeding. So during that particular attack, when she returned to her village, what did she see? She saw her father lying on the ground bleeding, and the father had a bullet in his leg. So this was a terrible sight for a daughter. So Demati Desabar, she becomes extremely angry. And that memory brings alive a mind otherwise fading. I lost my temper and attacked that officer with a gun. In those days, we all took lathis as we went to work in the fields or forest. You had to have something with you in case wild animals showed up. So when Damati De Sabar recollected this particular incident of her father's assault and the attack of their village, she actually that raised her mind, that brought her mind alive, that brought her mind back. Because now that she is very old and she cannot recollect anything, but when she recollected the whole incident, all of a sudden she became so alive. And what did she do? I lost my temper and attacked that officer with the gun. So when she saw her father lying on the ground bleeding, she really literally lost her temper and she attacked the British officer, and that officer was actually carrying a gun and she is attacking him with her lathi. And in those days we all took lathis as we went to work in the fields or forest. So in those days the women of these tribal women used to take lathis when they go to work in the fields or forest. Why? Because we should have something to protect themselves in case the wild animals showed up. So in order to protect themselves from wild animals, they actually took lathis when they go to work in the fields. So using those lathis, this particular woman, Demati Desabar, is attacking the British officer. As she attacked the officer, the 40 other women with her turned their lathis on the rest of the raiding force. I chased the scoundrel down the street, she says, angry but also chuckling, raining blows on him. He was too surprised to do anything else. He ran, he ran. So Demati is attacking the British officer. At the same time, 40 other women who accompanied Demati is attacking the rest of the British force. So they literally chased these people, and she was literally showering blows on him. She was literally beating him, and he ran. He couldn't do anything. He got scared and he ran back. So because the attack from these women came as a surprise. They did not expect these women to respond like that. Normally, Indian women are considered as very passive and submissive. This is a Western point of view. So they didn't expect these women to fight back like this. So this came as a surprise. So the Britishers couldn't do anything. So they literally ran away. She beat and chased the man around the village. She then picked up her father and took him away from the spot. He was arrested later, though, while leading yet another agitation. Kartik Sabha was a key organizer of anti-British meetings in the area. Okay, so like that, Demati Desaba chased the British officer. Then she took care of her father because he was bleeding. But later, this particular person, that is Demati's father, he is called Kartik Sabar. He was arrested for organizing anti-British meetings. So he was also a freedom fighter. So he was arrested later. Now, so that is about her father. Now, Demati Desabar is known as Salihan after the village in Nuapada district where she was born. A freedom fighter of Odisha celebrated for having taken on an armed British officer with a lathi. Okay, so today Demati Desabar is known as Salihan. That is Salihan mentioned in the title. So she is known after her village. The name of her village is Saliha, and today she is known as Salihan. She is known by uh, the name of her village. So she is a freedom fighter of Odisha, and she is celebrated for having taken taken on an armed British officer with a lathi. So she chased the British officer with a lathi. So she is celebrated for that brave act. She does not believe, though, that she did anything extraordinary. She doesn't dwell on it anyway. They destroyed our homes, our crops, and they attacked my father. Of course, I would have fought them. That is her words. What is it? Even though we praise it like this, she doesn't. She did not believe that. She doesn't believe that she hasn't done anything extraordinary. Like it is normal because her father is being attacked and her village is being attacked. So what is she supposed to do? She has to react, right? So she has done just the normal thing. That is her idea of the whole act. But people see this as a heroic act, a brave act. The year was 1930 and she was around 16 years old. The Raj was cracking down on pro-independence meetings being held in the rebellious region. Demati's charge against the British and their police was a feature of what came to be known as the Saliha uprising and firing. So the whole incident happened in 1930 during the time of freedom struggle, and Demati was only 16 years old. Look at her bravery. She was just a 16-year-old girl when she attacked an armed British officer with just a lathi. And so it was a pro-independent, it was like a pro-independent struggle. And it came to be, this uprising came to be known as Saliha uprising. Okay, so that is this particular incident. Now, Demati was closing in on 90 when I met her. Now, this is the author's point of view. Demati was closing in on 90 when I met her. There is still strength and beauty in her face, emaciated and fast losing her sight now, but probably beautiful, tall and strong when young. Okay, So when the incident happened, Demati was only 16 years old. Now, when the author meets her finally, she is 90 and she is very thin and she is very weak. When we look at her, she is very weak. And but the author says her long arm, which still hint of hidden vigor, must have wielded a mean lathi. That officer must have had a rough time. He certainly had the right idea in running. But what is the author saying? He says that she has long arms and which still has a kind of vigor. Even though she is thin and old, her arms have a kind of strength, and that is yeah, this is the same hands that chased and beaten down the British officer. Her incredible courage unrewarded and outside her village largely forgotten. Salihan, when I saw her, was living in degrading poverty in Barghat district. A multicolored official certificate authenticating her heroism was her only possession. Hmm? So, but today, her courage, I told you, she at 16 years, she fought the British force. So that is an incredible act, but that is unrewarded, and we have forgotten her. None of our history books uh, talks about this particular woman. And there is a multicolored official certificate that authenticates her heroism. That is her only possession. She has a certificate that acknowledges her heroism, and that is the only thing that she has. And even that certificate spoke more about her father's struggles rather than the attack that she led. So imagine 40 women led by this 16-year-old girl is attacking armed British force. So this is such a brave act, but none of our texts record it. Okay, so that is the situation. She had no pension, no assistance from either the center or the state of Odisha. So she is not receiving any kind of pension or assistance. She is literally struggling in poverty. She struggled to remember the one thing sparking in her mind was the story of her father Karthik Sabha being shot. So she is struggling to remember the story of how her father was shot by the British. When I brought that up, she spoke with an anger that had not abated, like it was happening right in front of her. It also rekindled other memories. So when she recollected the memory of her father being shot, she couldn't control her anger, as if it is happening right in front of her. Okay. Then she is saying, my elder sister Bhandei and Ganga Talen and Shakha Toren. So her elder sister Bhandei, then Ganga Talen and Shakha Toren are two other women of the tribe. All of them were arrested and they are all gone now. All of them passed away. And her father spent 2 years in Raipur jail. All these things happened after the attack. Her region today is dominated by feudals who were collaborators of the Raj. They have benefited more from the freedom that Salihan and her kind fought for. Islands of Well dot the ocean of deprivation here. So today, what happens? They have led all these fights, but what happens today is today her region is dominated by feudals. These feudal lords were actually collaborators of British administration. They supported British administration, but today still they continue to rule the village, and poor people are suffering in the village. Actually, it's the village is in an impoverished state, like an ocean of deprivation, but there are islands of wealth. That is That means wealth is centered around certain people, that is feudal lords, and the common people are suffering in poverty. She gives us a great smile, many great smiles, but she is tiring. She struggles to recall the names of her three sons, Brishnu Bhoy, Angur Bhoy, and Aghura Bhoy. She waves at us as we say goodbye and leave. Demati De Sabar, Salihan is still smiling. Okay, so, what is the author saying? The author says that she finds it difficult. She is very old. I told you she is 90. So, she finds it very difficult even to recollect the names of her sons. But at the same time, she is smiling and she clearly remembers the British attack and the things that followed. But she has forgotten many other things and when the writer was leaving, she was literally smiling. Even though she is in a very miserable state, she is still smiling. And the writer concludes with a sentence that is Salihan died a little over a year after our meeting in 2002. So Salihan dies in 2002, 2 years after her meeting with the author. So that is how the article ends. Now, after the article, P. Sainath actually wrote a poem titled For Damati Sabar Salihan. For Damati Sabar Salihan. So this poem is actually dedicated to Damati De Sabar, the great freedom fighter, this great woman. So this particular poem is actually a tribute to Salihan or Damati De Sabar. So let's look at the poem. They won't tell your story, Salihan, and I can see you making page 3. So they won't tell your story. What does that mean? No one is going to tell your story. No historians, no writers. Nobody is going to tell your story. And you won't make page 3. And we'll never be able to find you in page 3. Now, what is page 3? It is the section of the Indian newspapers with high class Indian news. That is news about celebrities, important people, politicians, like that. So that is page 3. And you're not, we won't find you in page 3. We'll never find you in page 3. That means people won't treat you as important. People will never consider you as important, even though you are a great woman, supposed to be celebrated. But they are not going to do that. People or our society is not going to do that. That is for the painted whatnot, the liposuction lot. The rest is for the captains of industry. Prime time is not for you, Salihan. It is, and this isn't funny. So what is it? Page 3 is for the painted whatnot. What does that mean? Page 3 is for the people who wear makeup, or the liposuction lot, the people who undergo cosmetic surgeries or plastic surgeries. So who is the writer referring to? The celebrities, the models. So page 3 is dedicated for such people. And the rest is for the captains of industry. The rest is for rich people, industrialists. And prime time is not for you. Prime time means the leading main news. That is not for you. It is dedicated for the politicians or such people uh, who are considered to be important. No, it is not for you. So it is the poet is actually being sarcastic about the society's attitude. They don't respect or celebrate the people who really deserve it, but instead they are celebrating the celebrities or the corrupted politicians, and they don't care about people like Salihan, who are actually who actually fought for the independence of this country. For those who murder and maim, who burn and who blame, speak sanely then of harmony. So the prime time is for those who burn and blame. Then after it is for the politicians who murder, then they pretend who kill people and then pretend that they are saints. So the poet is referring to politicians. So prime time is for such people, politicians, celebrities, industrialists, such people. Then the poet is mentioning the past incident. The Brits torched your village. Brits means the British people. They torched your village, Salihan. That means the British people have burned down your village. So many men carrying guns, they came by the train bringing terror and pain. So many people, that is British people, came by carrying gun to your village and they actually brought terror to your village. Till sanity itself was undone, they burned all there was, Salihan. So, in a mad rage, they actually burned down everything in their village. The Britishers burned down everything in their village after looting the cash and the grain. They actually they stole the cash and grain from the village, and after that, they burned down their village. Brutes of the Raj, they led a violent charge, but you faced them with total disdain. So even though they led a violent charge to your village, you actually fought them bravely. You, along with 40 other women, fought the British people. You strode down the street towards him. You faced that man with the gun. And you chased them and you confronted that man, that British officer with the gun. In Saliha, they still tell the story of the battle you fought and you won. In her village, in the village called Saliha, they still talk about the story of your bravery, about the battle that you fought. Your kin lay bleeding around you, your father a bullet in his leg, still you stood tall, drove those bricks to the wall. Okay, your kin, your relatives were all bleeding, and your father even had a bullet in his leg, but still you stood firm, and you chased the Britishers and made them run from your native village. For you went there to fight, not to beg. You went there to fight the Britishers, not to request them or not to plead with them, but instead you fought them. You struck that officer Salihan and thrashed him before he could move. You literally fought that British officer and he couldn't even move in the beginning. When he finally did, he limped and he did, seeking refuge from 16-year-old you. So when the officer finally could move, he was actually limping. He was trying hard to escape from a merely 16-year-old girl. 40 girls against the Raj Salihan, and strong and beautiful too. So 40 girls and Salihan against the British administration. So that is such a brave act. So you were strong and beautiful, and Salihan or Demati De Sabar is very strong and beautiful. She was very strong and beautiful, but now what is her situation? Now you're shrunk and you're grey. Now you're shrunken and you're grey. Your body withers away. So now she has become old and she is weak. But there is a spark in those eyes that is still you. But even though you're weak, there is a kind of spark in her eyes. What does that mean? Even though she is weak in her body, her mind still has that spirit. She is still that strong, powerful woman at heart. That is the meaning of there is a spark in those eyes that is still you. Those who toady the Raj, Salihan, they rule your poor village today. So those who praise people of authority, that is, those who praise the Britishers during British administration, such people, such hypocrite people rule your village today. That is, feudal lords rule your village today. And build temples of stone, but they will never atone for bartering our freedoms away. So the feudal lords rule your village today. They even build temples, but they can't. But we shouldn't forgive them because they actually they sold our freedom in for their own personal gain. So we shouldn't forgive such people. Hungry with little to eat in history's shades, you die as you lived, Salihan. Hungry with little to eat in history's shades, your memory it fades. Okay, so today Salihan lives in poverty. She is in a very miserable and impoverished state. She is literally hungry. She has nothing to eat, and she is living in history's shades. What does that mean? Because history, mainstream history, does not address her or does not talk about her. So she lives in history's shades. She only lives in memory of certain people in her village. Your memory, it fades like Raipur jail's roster sheet. Hmm? Roster sheet means the sheet in which we have the list of people in a particular place. Here, in this context, in the jail. So, just like a sheet fades, your memory also fades. Had I but your heart, Salihan, what success would I then not see? If I, the author, the poet is saying that if I had your heart or the strength of your heart, I could have achieved, I would have achieved uh, any success. I could have gained anything. Though that battle itself was not for yourself, but that others might also be free. And the battle that you fought was not for yourself, it's for everyone. It is for the village and for the whole nation. Our children should know you, Salihan, but what is your claim to fame? So the poet is saying that our children, the coming generations should know about you because you are such an important person. But what is your claim to fame? No ram did you glide, no crown wear with pride. You're not a Miss World or you're not a model walking through a ramp. You are just a poor tribal woman. So nobody is going to acknowledge you. Again, the poet is being sarcastic against the attitude of society because the society is after hollowness. They care about the film stars or the models or celebrities, but they never acknowledge or respect or celebrate people like Salihan, who is actually a very important person and who's we clap at the performance of heroes in a movie, but we forgot we forget to praise real life heroes. Salihan is such a hero. She's just a superwoman, but we don't know about her or we consciously ignore such people. So the poet is criticizing such attitude, the hollowness of the society. Nor lend Pepsi and Coke your name to speak to me, Salihan, for endless an hour as you please. So even though you're not a celebrity, even though you're not a model, please speak to me. At least please speak to me. This hack when we part wants to write of your heart, note romance India's captains of fleas. The poet wants to write about her. He wants to write about her. He wants to praise her. He does not want to write romances about the immoral activities of people of India, but instead he wants to write about Salihan, this great woman, this great freedom fighter. He wants to write about her. So in this way, the poet is actually paying tribute to Salihan or Damati Desabar, a forgotten figure of Indian history. Now let us look at important questions from the text. So first section is answer the following questions in one or two sentences. First one, why is Damati Desabar called Salihan? So what is the answer? Damati Desabar is known by the name of a village because she attacked a British officer, and because of this heroic act or because of this brave act, she is known by the name of her village. Second question, what made Damati Desabar lose her temper? So the answer is the sight of her father lying on the ground bleeding made her lose her temper. Third question, why did the women take lathis as they went to work in the fields or forest? The women took lathis as they went to work in the fields or forest in order to prevent wild animals. What is page 3 of a newspaper? Page 3 of a newspaper is a section of newspaper which deals with high class news. How did Salihan and the women come to know of the attack? How did Salihan and the women come to know of the attack of British police on their village? Answer is when a youngster came and informed while she was working in the fields. A youngster from the village came and informed while Demati Desaba and other women were working in the fields. There is a spark in those eyes that is still explained. What is the answer? Even though Demati Desabar is old and weak, or even though she lives in an impoverished situation, even though her life is miserable, still there is a kind of spirit that can be seen in her eyes. She is still that strong and powerful woman at heart. Okay, so these are the questions. Now, next section is answer the following questions in a paragraph. First one, what did Salihan and the other Adivasi women do on hearing about the attack on their village by the British police? So, what is the answer? The answer is Salihan, along with 40 other women, ran back to their village and they chased and attacked the British officers who attacked their village. They literally fought the British officers. What was the condition of Salihan when the writer visited her years later? So when the writer visited her years later, Salihan is 19 years old. She lives in a very miserable condition. She is impoverished and she is weak, but there is a kind of will and spirit in her, a spirit that is still within her. And she has no pension, no assistance. Literally, she is suffering. Why does the writer say that the prime time is not for her? Because she is a tribal woman. Salihan is a tribal woman, and tribal people are a marginalized section in the society. And she is also a woman, a normal woman. So nobody acknowledges her, or nobody considers her as important. Prime time is dedicated for celebrities and such people. Now, next question. What is the theme of the poem for Demati Sabar or Salihan? So the poem is actually a tribute to Damati Desabar, a forgotten figure of history. Now the next section is answer the following questions in about 300 words. That is essay questions. So first question is, how does the writer portray the hollowness of our society that forgets fighters like Salihan and focuses on celebrities? Huh? So the hollowness, the society is characterized by its hollowness. Our society is characterized by its hollowness, because it never acknowledges, it never celebrates important people or great achievers like Demati Desaba. Instead, we are after celebrities, models, and such silly things. So that is the hollowness of our society, and the poet is making fun of uh, society, fun of our society's attitude. Now compare the past glory and the present dire condition of Salihan caused by the indifference of the society. So we know that when she was 16, Salihan was a powerful, strong and powerful woman. She was capable of leading a group of women, and she was capable of attacking the British officers. She was a very brave woman. But now, what is her present condition? She is living in a miserable state, and she is living in a very impoverished condition. So this is because of the indifference of our society. She has no pension, no assistance from government forces. So she has to suffer like that till the end of her life. So this is the attitude of our society.